Good day. Nice to be with you again. Today, I'm going to talk about a very difficult subject. It's difficult in the sense that it has been done to us for many, many years without any legal recourse for the Palestinians or punishment or accountability for the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force. What I'm going to talk about is the extrajudicial killings of Palestinians by both Mossad, the Israeli intelligence service overseas, and the Israeli occupation forces in Jerusalem and the occupied West Bank. I shall put up the legal definition of extrajudicial killing, so I won't have to read it to you. Last week in Jerusalem, there was a killing of a young man called Muhammad Shawkat Salami, 23-year-old. He was shot at point-blank range by an Israeli soldier after he was lying on the ground, incapacitated and not moving, and as such, not presenting any threat to anybody. This reminds me of another similar killing in Hebron 5 years ago, when another Israeli soldier called Elor Azaria shot dead another 21-year-old Palestinian called Abdel Fattah al-Sharif in Hebron. The same thing. Abdel Fattah al-Sharif was shot, he fell on the ground, and he was not moving and not presenting any threat to anybody. Yet, El-Azhar shot him twice in the head. This was filmed by none other than Beit Slim, an Israeli NGO. Azaria went into trial, show trial, and he was given an 18 months prison sentence. He actually was released last week when this boy was killed in Jerusalem. Just imagine, the Israeli legal system gives a Palestinian child who throws a stone at an armored personnel carrier or a tank 20 years in prison. A child, 20 years in prison for throwing a stone. Yet, an Israeli soldier who kills deliberately is given 18 months and treated as a hero. In 2002, Knesset member and former Minister of Public Security Avi Dakta was indicted for the murder of an entire family in Gaza. Mr. Dakta was indicted by the Center for Constitutional Rights with extrajudicial killing, war crimes, and other gross human rights violations. On 16 September 2009, the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit dismissed the case, citing Dakta's immunity under the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act. That's why they do it. They know that no matter what they do to us, Uncle Sam will always cover their backs, as they say. This same Mr. Dakta, during the March of Return 2018, when the Palestinians in Gaza started to march every Friday, peacefully, armed with nothing but flags and banners, were targeted murdered, maimed, and injured by the Israeli Defense Forces snipers. This is the same Mr. Doctor who famously said that the Israeli army has a bullet for every child, man and woman in Gaza. There's no problem. They can all be killed. In that march of return, 13,000 Palestinians were injured, hundreds of amputees, and 234 deaths. The Israeli army employed snipers to pick them up one by one. They even killed a paramedic, a young lady who was attending to an injured Palestinian from Gaza. They don't care. They do what they like with us because they know nobody will dare to challenge them. I'm going to tell you a story that is very personal to me because it happened to two friends of mine in Beirut in 1972 when my wife and I were on our honeymoon. The Israeli Mossad put a huge bomb in the car of the late Ghassan Kanafani in Beirut. He was a Palestinian intellectual and the editor-in-chief of Al-Hadaf magazine, meaning the Target, and he was assassinated, not only himself, but his niece who was visiting from Kuwait at the time. Hassan was killed. He was murdered. He wasn't carrying arms. He wasn't threatening anybody. He was a poet, a philosopher, a writer. He was telling the world what Israel is doing to us. And for that, he was assassinated. Another friend of mine, and he's a dear friend, and I'm grateful to say is still alive, was Bassam Abu Sharif, another Palestinian intellectual, and he was the deputy to Ghassan Kanafani in Al-Hadaf magazine. They sent him a book through the Ministry of Education in Beirut, stamped by the seal of the ministry, and when his secretary brought it to his office and he opened it, it blew up in his face. I said, Bassam, thankfully, is still alive. I'm going to put a picture of him for you to see. He was put together over a 3 months period and many an operation by some skillful Lebanese and Palestinian surgeons. In other words, he was glued together. Most of his fingers are missing. One of his eyes is missing, the other is half there. He's deaf in 2 ears. And his face and his body is peppered with pellets. They tried to kill him. Bassam survived to become the political advisor to the late Yasser Arafat, the president of Palestine. Bassam is still alive, living in his ancestral home in Jericho, and very active in his intellectual endeavors, again, to bring awareness to our plight. Why do the Israelis do this? As I said before, because they know no matter what they do to us, first, the United States of America will come to their rescue. Not only that, they will continue giving them, gifting them, selling them, whatever you like to say, the latest armaments and technology to kill us by. Palestinian lives under occupation in Jerusalem, in the occupied West Bank, and the Gaza Strip, to the Israelis is not worth even the bullet they fire at us. We have no protection. We have no cover. Will we ever get justice? By the way, before I close, I'd like just to say that I will be off air for a couple of months. Nothing wrong. It's the Christmas season, children, grandchildren, friends and festivities, and travels. So hopefully I will see you in February. Thank you for listening. Bless you all.